For the next theme that we'll be looking at whole life orientation. The evening will first begin with that gathering, that same idea, bless your name, and then I'll open with a prayer because I want that idea to still be ingrained in them. And it takes a lot of repetition, I feel, for that to happen. So hopefully they'll, at this point, starting to be sing that song as that idea of gathering. And then we'll move into looking at some different scriptures that talk about what a living sacrifice is, what whole life orientation looks like. I think it's very typified in Romans 12. So I'll read that first. Therefore I urge you, brethren, and I'll be reading out of the NASB since that is more accurate than the NIV in this particular instance. Specifically, as you had highlighted in my paper, that sacrifice is singular, not plural. The sum of each believer's sacrifice or offering back to God. So from that, I'll explain sort of what this idea of whole life orientation looks like, which is basically the idea that since God has given so much for us, that we in turn offer our lives back to God. Our entire life is oriented to who He is and to serving and seeking His kingdom first. And I think to kind of better understand that, that we need to understand the sacrificial system. So I'll spend a few minutes just kind of explaining that, again, sort of the idea of the fall, and that on God's terms, He set up this sacrificial system so that we could approach Him, but that it costs something to approach Him, and that was often the life of an animal. Or for us, it's the life of Christ that was sacrificed in our place, is that perfect and ultimate sacrifice. And that's kind of where I'll culminate with that Jesus is the fulfillment of that sacrifice. And then we'll read a selection from Matthew 15 that, again, is just about Jesus' death on the cross. And then we'll sing a song called Once Again. And that song the song Once Again, if you're familiar with it, talks about Jesus' sacrifice, basically us pondering that idea. And then even responding, again, in that correct way of responding with gratitude, thankfulness. The bridge just says, thank you for the cross, thank you for the cross, thank you for the cross, my friend. And even declaring that Jesus has been exalted to the highest place, and that His name is above every name. But the part of the song that will need a little bit of explanation and perhaps shaping is that line where it says, once again I thank you, once again I pour out my life. And again, this is that our lives are oriented for God. And I do love the imagery that, we pour out our lives like a drink offering, just as Jesus said that His life was going to be poured out like a drink offering. But I want people to understand that, as you had written again in my paper, that our response is a response to what God has done through Jesus. Jesus' response. So our response is a response to His response. That's very very wordy. But anyway, lots of responses, which hopefully they will have understood from that last week. But anyway, we will sing through this song as a response, primarily, getting that idea that we are thankful to God for what He has done, and even, kind of that idea of at least introducing it again and reinforcing it, that we are pouring out our lives, and that our bodies that we are a living memorial of who God is. At least we should be. So then from there we'll read 1 Corinthians 6:19 through 20. And what this passage does is it reminds us that we are the temple of the Holy Spirit, that the Spirit indwells within us. And furthermore, it says that we were bought with a price, such a high price, Jesus' life even. And to help kind of clarify that even more, we're going to sing the song, How Deep the Father's Love for Us, just to kind of give us a glimpse as to how much it cost God to send Jesus for us. And even sort of identifying, with that idea that, it was us, it was our sin that He died for. That the imagery of that song is just so beautiful, I think. So it'll just be a good way for people to sit back. I don't know if I will necessarily ask them to sing it, because it's not a song that's particularly familiar with Suncrest, but I will ask them to listen to the words of this song. So from there, I'm going to read again Romans 12:1 and 2, just to remind them again that we are offering our bodies, the life that we live in these bodies, the physical actions that we do every day. And then we're going to move into a time of silence. And that time of silence is going to be a time for people to listen to God, for God to speak to them in what areas of their lives that they need to sacrifice, what actions in the body that they currently need to surrender, so that their lives are wholly oriented toward God. And again, that kind of is brought out even more in that second passage, or the second verse in Romans, where it says, "Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world." So we are supposed to be set apart, holy again. That idea that we've been has been a theme throughout. So after that, we're going to move into a time of response. And that'll be done with a song that I wrote called "We Come to the Cross." At least it'll be kicked off by that. And in the song, it highlights Jesus as being it's a prayer that we come to the cross, down on our knees. We humble ourselves to the man on the tree. We come to your throne and we lay down our crowns. We pick up the cross that we have laid down, saying that we are going to take up our cross again and follow after God. And even saying that we come to your throne in the bridge, declaring again that Jesus is the Son of God, that he is the high priest who victories is won, that sin has lost its power, death has lost its sting, the serpent has been crushed, and we have been freed. So this is just a song of surrender more than anything, saying that we are going to do this, that we are going to take up the cross. And then I thought it was fitting to sing "Take My Life and Let It Be," just because it goes through so many different aspects of things that we would tend to hold back, particularly in verse 4, "Take my silver and my gold, not a mite would I withhold. Take my intellect and use every power as you choose." Every power as you choose. So we'll sing through that together, just saying that, God, we are giving up the parts of our lives that need to be, so that we can be wholly oriented toward you. And then the next song that we'll respond with is "For the Honor." And the thing that I like about this song is not only the fact that it at least kind of draws attention to the three parts of the Trinity, but that it's saying that for the honor of God, we're going to do this. So it sort of brings out another aspect of why we orient our lives. And this idea of honor is the idea that it's for Jesus' sake. It's for the furthering of his name, even for the furthering of the kingdom, that we are going to live this out. And in verse 4, I think, again, kind of ties back into this idea of sacrifice. It says, "We'll give our lives in sacrifice until you come again." So even it's this idea that we will do this not only here on earth, but we will continue to do this forever. So I love sort of that future-oriented idea about it as well. And then the last song that we'll respond with is "The Stand." And this is really typified both in the pre-chorus and the chorus, where it says, "So what can I say, what can I do, but offer this heart, O God, completely to you." And then the chorus says, "So I'll stand with arms high and heart abandoned, in awe of the one who gave it all. And I'll stand, my soul, Lord, to you surrendered. All I am is yours." And this is a song that the congregation knows very, very well. And I hope that they'll see that as they sing this, that they are declaring that their life is going to be wholly oriented to God, every action that they do. So those are the 4 songs that we'll kind of respond with. And then from there we'll break into sort of small group prayer groups. And we'll just have people pray for each other, that they would become wholly oriented toward God, that every action in their lives would be glorifying to him and would further the kingdom. Then I'll come back at the end and again sort of just recap the evening, all the different thoughts of what whole life orientation means, and then I'll we'll say the benediction, bless them, and pray that the Spirit would move powerfully in their lives to do what needs to be done. And then we'll dismiss for the evening.